and welcome. My name's Sam and this is The Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to Funky Fold Friday. So this is our last card for this beautiful stamp set, Sweet Bugs. If you haven't seen what we've done, pop back and see the two videos. There was one on Monday and one on Wednesday, creating some beautiful cards. Let me just lean across and I can grab what. So this is Wednesday's card. And it made full use of the designer series paper created. So pop back on Wednesday to see this card. And this was Monday's card, making full use of the stamps. And that was, as I say, Monday's card. So do pop back and have a look at those if you haven't already. But today we're here to create this funky fold. And we have got a diagonal flap fold card. So you've got this little flap that opens and it diagonally opens that way like so. So today we're not only using the designer series paper, we're using the dies. We're using the dies and we're using the stamps. So let's bring in our supplies. What have we got? Okay, so I did have a piece of Blackberry Bliss that measures 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. I've scored it at the 4-inch mark and then I cut it diagonally from the 4-inch mark down to the bottom right hand to give me this part of the card. This is not going to be needed. I'm just going to burnish that. There we go. Right, what else have I got? Let's have a look. So that's the base of the card. I've then got what creates the flap. Now this is 8 inches by 3 inches and we will score and cut that in a moment together. I have a piece of designer series paper. Now this measures 4 inches by 5.25 and we'll need to cut that. I have a inside layer which just goes into here. This again is 4 inches by 5.25. Okay, so that fits in there like so. I've die cut my little bug, so he's going to go down the bottom of the inside. I have two pieces here, both are the same measurements. So these are 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. So that's designer series paper and a white piece, which we will cut and score together. And last but by no means least, I have the sentiment strip where my stamping is going to go. And this measures 2.5 by 2 5/8. And then the Blackberry Bliss matte layer that goes underneath is 2 5/8 by 2 3/4. Right, so we've done those pieces. Let's move those aside and let's focus on what we need to do here. So this is going to create the flap. And what I need to do is bring my trimmer in and we are going to score this in half at 4 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the trimmer blade, score blade up and we're going to score it in half. Now what you need to do is fold it in half, burnish it with our bone folders, and then with the opening flap facing to the top of the trimmer, we are going to put this, oops, just knocked the camera there, I totally apologise. Move the left-hand side of the flap to the 1-inch mark here. And then I'm going to take my little pen and I'm going to score it there. I'm then going to slide it all the way across to the 2-inch mark. And I am going to mark it there. Now I'm going to turn it to the left, so the flap is still facing the left, and I'm going to mark it to the 1-inch mark. So it'll go to the top there and 1 inch at the bottom. Now this is ready for us to cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the mark that's here and we're going to cut diagonally down to meet the one that's on the side. So let's do that first of all. Now make sure that the mark is in the running along the track. Move the scorer out of the way and then we can push straight through and we've got that piece. We're going to do exactly the same with the other side. So there is the side mark and there is the top mark. So let's get those into our trimmer perfectly. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to run this across like so. And then we've got this perfect flap. Now we don't need to worry about these marks because when we stick it down, it's going to be the side that you won't see the marks. However, when you come to do this, it's best to work on the reverse. So on this particular one, I want this pattern to show. So this is the 2 3/4 edge, which is going up against here. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put it up to the 7/8 of an inch. So that's just 2 little dashes before the 1 inch. And then I'm just going to take my pen and do a little mark. There's a 1 inch mark on this side, so I'm going to do exactly the same and take it up to the 7/8 of an inch, apologies. And I'm just going to put a mark there. So these have both been measured from the sides at 7/8 of an inch. I'm going to turn the top to the left, and we're going to do exactly as the same as we did with the flap. We're going to take it up to the 7/8 of an inch, and we're going to mark it at the top, and we're going to mark it at the bottom. And we're going to run our cuts diagonally across. So let's do that. So all the way across there, that's one. I'll do exactly the same with this one. So let's get those in. There we go. Make sure we've got it in. And we're going to cut that straight across. Now when we turn it over, that will fit in there perfectly. Okay, let's repeat that with our white piece. So I'm going to do it on the reverse again. So we're going to mark it, the 2 3/4 edge is up at the top, and we're going to take it to the 7/8 of an inch. I'm going to mark it with our pen. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, 7/8 of an inch, and mark it with our pen. Turning the paper to the left-hand side, we're going to run this now left-hand side up against the 7/8. I'm going to pop a mark there at the top and there at the bottom. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut diagonally across like so. So bringing our blade down, I'm going to make sure that both of the marks are in the score line and then cut straight across. I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. Just make sure I've got it straight. And straight across. Okay, now we can turn this over, and now this will go into there where people can write their messages. Right, let's pop those aside. So the last thing we need to do is take this beautiful designer series paper, Be Brave, top left hand corner, bottom right hand corner, in the running of the track. Okay, and I'm going to put my blade in the middle like so, and then I'm just going to run it up and straight down. Okay, and then we've got the top and the bottom ready to go. Now that should be all of the cutting we need to do. So let us do our stamping, and we can bring our everything into play. So with the 2 5/8 edge, just going to squash that one at the bottom, I'm going to bring in my ants that are having a little party. I'm going to ink them up in early espresso like so. Pop that down there and pop them into place. Okay, now I'm going to colour these in, and I'm going to use, I've got Darling Duckling for the trumpet, I've got Poppy Parade for the flag, that's in, both of these are dark, and then I've got Light and Dark of the pecan pie, and I'm just going to colour all my ants in. What have I got here? This is the light. Okay, And I'm just going to do light, 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 then fill everything else in all the way through, so that you don't have to sit there and watch me colour. I have already done it. Let's make sure this is the right way around. There we go. So the only thing this now needs is to stamp our happy birthday. And I have got the happy birthday from the Reason to Celebrate, and I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss, she says, pushing it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the birthday sentiment on first. So ink that up well. And I'm going to make sure that that is over to the right, so I've got room for the happy birthday to fit in. Squeeze it down. There we go, so there's the birthday. And now I'm going to do exactly the same with the happy. There we go, ink that up. Managed to make it move, so that's really good. And I'm looking to put it there. So there we go, we have the happy birthday. So all this scoring, cutting and stamping have been completed. Now we can put it all together. So I'm going to layer my ants onto my backing mat. So this is the 2 1/2 by 2 5/8 inch sentiment strip. The mat is 2 5/8 by 2 3/4. So you will find if you turn it one way, you will have a very weird shape, but if you turn it the other way, then it fits perfectly. Okay, let's see what else we've got. So let's do the flap. So this piece is going inside. So I'm just going to burnish those edges. And I'm going to stick, that's it. This, so if you're holding it open, you're sticking your sentiment area onto the left hand side of your flap. Okay, so we're going to use that with our glue. Wiggle it across. Bit over. Oops, that came up to meet it too quickly. I'm going to push that forward. There we go, come on. There we go. Okay, so you've now got your area to right. Fold it over, and it's now time for our designer series paper to go on as well. Okay, so that's going to fit on like that there. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal for this. I have to say I absolutely love this paper, and we'll probably be going back to get more as it's still in stock at the moment. So let's make sure that we've got that in the right place. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to bring our sentiment, and that is going to sit on the top like that, and we can use that with our glue. There we go. Perfect, so we can pop that aside for the moment, and we can bring in our card base. So I'm going to stick this straight down on the inside, like so. Wriggle that in. There we are. Now we've got our two pieces. So this is actually going to run straight across there without any hesitation and straight down. Okay, because we're going to then bring this one in, and then that is going to run down there like so and straight across. Okay, so let's do this one first. Again, I'm using my Stampin' Seal. Okay, so let's do it. show it up. We've got a nice little border all the way around. There we go, all the way across there. Perfect. And then I can burnish it. There we go. It's come up a bit, so I'm going to just put a dab of glue there. I don't think I got to the top with the Stampin' Seal. There we go. Perfect. So now I need to put this one in place, like so. So you're going to get this little white border down the middle, which is fine. You can see all the characters meet up. Right, so let's tell you what, let's do it with the glue this time, and then we can get right into the corners. There we go. With that staying down, I'm going to make sure it's right up to the top. There we go. And down to the side. Perfect. There we go, and our characters meet up. So it's now up to us where we put our flap. We could put our flap here, so you can see your characters here. When you open it up, you're only going to see half of your cricket, but you've still got all these beautiful pieces down here. Or you could bring it down to the bottom like so. Okay, so you get the cricket's head like so, and then you can open it to there. So let's do it that way, so you can see the cricket head and everything. So what you want to do is you're going to cover all of this in the back section in glue. You're going to make sure that this edge, the sealed or the hinge edge, is right up against your edge of your designer series paper stroke cardstock, which gives you a little gap here. And then what you do is put that down, and then you can see it matches perfectly into place. Right, we're going to open that, and then we've got our little bug, and he can sit on here. So we'll put him up on dimensionals. Where I've put those, here they are. So I've got a little bit up here for his head, and then I've got the bigger one for the middle. I'm going to take those backings off, and then he's just going to sit in this little corner here. Quite perfect. And then it's going to sit like so. Now, if you want to, I did on the other one, I have brought in the strawberry dots, because there's strawberries here in the paper. Bring in my pointy tool, and I'm just going to, I think I might only use one of these strawberries this time, and I'm just going to pop it in the middle. Oops. There. Like so. Let's have a look. I had 3 in the last one. Do I need 3 in this one? I suppose I do. Okay, let's get 2 more of these strawberries. So we put one either side, so that's easiest done. So one goes under the Y. Make sure it's straight. And then I've got one to go under the H of the happy. Bring it down so it matches the right side. There we go. Perfect. So there are our cards for today. Thank you ever so much for joining me. I hope you liked this stamp set and the papers as much as I did. And if you do try any out of the designs, please let me know. Put a comment or a photograph in the bottom of the videos. I would really appreciate it. Thank you ever so much. Take care and see you next week. Bye.